Greetings and salutations, this is Vespasian and his trusty sidekick.
Me.
Today we're going to be bringing you our command unit for our bolt-action Chinese Second World War army. You've seen the other command units we've already done. So not the command units, the sniper team, anti-tank rifles, and this is the command unit. Originally it was based individually, but we decided, just to make it different, to base the teams on single bases, given that they only have a limited number of hits anyway. So here are this is the command unit. It's Chinese Nationalist command unit. You've got an officer out in front with a Dao sword, the Nationalist flag behind, and a trumpeter. I like to think it's a nice little vignette. It looks quite good. So you got the officer the second officer pointing, the main guy, and the guy behind, and they're trampling over the flag of a Japanese
command.
Yeah, Japanese unit that's left its flag behind, and they're trampling over the top of it and feeling really good that they're winning. Yeah, so that's basically it. They're nationalist. They're in nationalist uniform. For the early part of the war, from Nanking, Shanghai actually, right up to 44, 45. When did they start using the American issued kit?
I have no idea.
Oh, you should know these things. So that's it. Questions?
Why would you have a trumpet guy with a command?
Well, quite simple. To issue orders. The Chinese army use trumpets, actually they still use them technically. They use them in the Korean War. They're very useful things to issue immediate orders on a battlefield where you don't have radios, and when you have particularly large units of men to deal with. Next question?
Why would a Japanese commander have a sword?
Japanese?
Not Chinese commander have a sword.
Chinese officers usually carry swords. It's a mark of authority to carry a sword. The Japanese certainly carried swords. In the Chinese army, in the Nationalist army, there were whole units made up of only swordsmen, which is actually not too bad when you think that a lot of the fighting the Chinese did was in cities. It was in the built-up areas.
So close combat.
Yeah, the Chinese didn't usually try and contest open land much, because they would always lose, because the Japanese had air superiority and more tanks. So the Chinese basically would prefer to contest towns and cities and try and bleed the enemy in them. So close combat with a sword isn't as silly as it may sound, even though it's the Second World War. Cavalry still used swords in the Second World War. The Russians still used swords. Germans still carried swords, although there's no evidence that they actually used them. The Russians did. And the Japanese and the Chinese certainly used swords. Very useful weapon. You don't need to reload it. And it's pretty good at killing human beings. Swords are a true and tried and tested method of fighting wars. Anything else?
One more thing.
Go on.
Last thing.
Yeah.
Why would a Chinese command need to have a flag?
Here's an interesting one. Yeah. In the West, we sort of gave up carrying flags into battle. Regiments would have their flag. You would still have national flags. Occasionally, you might put them on the back of a tank for air recognition, but not very usually. Basically, some armies did carry flags into battle. Japan certainly carried flags a lot. In fact, riflemen would carry flags as markers. Basically, you would put the flag up to show what position you'd captured, so don't shell that position because I'm here. The Russians carried flags for the same reason. They would carry the Russian flag and the Soviet flag, and they would put the flag up over the position they were holding, so the Russian Air Force or the Russian artillery wouldn't shell that position. So quite logical, and it's also a big morale boost to troops for some reason. Bear in mind the Russians were very patriotic. Not that we weren't, but the Russians were fighting for a reason. They were fighting for, well, communism and Mother Russia, really. And it is a bit of a rallying call, having a nice red flag to wave. The Germans did the same, but they didn't wave the flag into battle. They did certainly use German flags for aircraft recognition, stuff like that. So, yeah, and the Chinese always carried flags with them because the Chinese were very flag orientated like the Japanese were.
Right.
Makes sense? Hence,
Yeah.
I gave the command unit a flag. So there we go. The flag is actually made out of the Japanese flag that you get in the Japanese box. I have quite a few Japanese, and so lots of spare Japanese flags. You can only use so many flags. So I painted it up as a nationalist Chinese flag. That's the war banner with the regimental citations down the side. The normal flag was more like that. Can you see that?
Yeah, they can.
Yeah. That's the normal flag. This is for a building, so it's a little bit bigger than the normal flag. So there we have it.
Yeah. How many more questions?
Yeah. So there we
Actually,
have.
one more question.
Yeah, go on.
How come their regiment, kind of regiment flag, has loads of like words on it? Chinese words or numbers?
They're the citations that the regiment's taken part in. The citations of battle the regiment's taken part in.
So it's battles have taken part in.
Yeah, the same as our flags.
Right.
They're the names of the battles that the regiment's won. The Japanese flags carry the same. They have the writing on it of what battles they've fought in and what citations they've got from the Emperor. If the Emperor says, "Oh, that regiment did well," then you write it on your flag. The Emperor endorses this regiment, sort of thing. It's a good morale boost for the troops. It doesn't mean much to the enemy, really. It is probably a good way. Not that you're going to be worried about that sort of stuff for the Second World War, but if you do see flags with a lot of citations on it, then the chances are that's a veteran regiment that knows what it's doing. It always confused me why the British Army insisted on having the names of battles on its flags when some of the battles were 200 years old. Because although, yeah, great that you win that battle, but doesn't mean the same guys are in charge of the regiment now, does it?
No.
So recent battles, yes. I don't really get the old battles. Just a history thing, I suppose. Right, so there we have the command unit. As I said, originally they were based individually, but we decided this time to base them on one base. Basically, because whenever we buy the unit, we always add a trooper to it to have the flag. So it's basically how we did this army up. That's it. That's the end of the video. Over to you.
So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and if you have any comments, we'll answer them in a bolt action Q&A. That's everything from me.
And everything from him. Good day.